What is the difference between view data, view back and temp data? This is a very important question. Here is the diagram. Now before the differences, let's see what is the common between them. View data, view back and temp data are all ways to pass data between controller and views. Okay, this is the common thing between them. Now the differences are view data and view back are used to transfer data from controller to view, whereas temp data is used to pass data from controller to controller. Okay, pass data between the two action methods of the two different controllers. Okay, that is temp data. Now it is a very clear cut difference, right? But mostly we have the confusion between view data and view back. Okay, because they are doing the same thing. So here if you can see, we are assigning an integer value to the view back and view data, right, inside the action method index like of the controller, right? Now we will pass this controller data to the view like this. Here you can see we are not doing any typecasting to get the integer value from the view back. But in case of view data, we are explicitly writing this int here. So typecasting is needed in case of view data, right? So the difference between the view data and view back is view back does not require typecasting, whereas view data require typecasting. Great, now you know the difference between view data, view back and temp data. A very short question here, how can we pass the data from the controller to the view in MVC? You already know the answer, right? The answer is by using view data and view back. What is partial view? Suppose you have a view, okay? Now inside this view, there can be many reusable things like menu, footer, which can be reused in other views also, right? You can. So for reusability purpose, you will create one partial view for menu item and one other partial view for like footer or something else, okay? And put this partial view here like inside this main view. Now the same partial view one for menu you can use in some other view too, also like this. See, you are using this, right, which is great. So what is the partial view? A partial view is a reusable view component that can be rendered within other views or shared across multiple views in your application. Okay, now it helps us to reduce the code duplication, right? That is right. Here is the sample code of how we can put the partial view product list inside the main view. Okay, this is the view code. Great, this is the short and the simple definition of partial view. Explain areas in MVC. Here first let's see the diagram of the MVC application. Now see, this application can have multiple areas and each area will have their own MVC architecture. Basically, if you have a very big application, then you can divide your application in separate modules with the help of areas. Okay, so the definition is areas are just a way to divide the modules of large application in multiple or separated view MVCs so that you can better manage your application, a big application. Okay, that is a simple definition and explanation about the areas. How validation works in MVC? What is data annotation? Okay, let's first see the code here. See, this is the model and here this required and range attributes are doing the validation here. So this validation will never allow a blank or empty student name from UI, this required. Okay, and this range validator, range of age must be between the 10 and 20 years. So that is also a validation, right? So this technique of validation is we call as data annotation. So the answer is validation can be done in MVC using data annotation attributes. Now similar to required and range, we have many other validations like this here, string length, regular expression, email address, range, compare, data type, and then we have some more. Now, I am not going to explain all of them because then it will be like too much for you to remember. If you want, just pause the video here and go through them, and whichever you relate with, you have used in your past projects, you can remember them. And like 4 or 5, if you can remember, that is great to know. So this is about data annotation and the validation in MVC. Explain the concept of MVC scaffolding. See the diagram here. Scaffolding helps to create default format for CRUD operations in very less time. That's it. Okay. If you look at the definition, then in ASP.NET MVC, scaffolding is a technique to generate code for common web applications. Some more detail is the scaffolding code can include controller views and data access code automatically generated that can help developers to create web applications more quickly and with less manual coding. So basically, in very short terms, like scaffolding is provided by .NET framework. It's like a tool to generate the code for controller views, data access, all things for you in a very short span of time. And that will help you to create web applications in very short span of time again, right? Great. Now you know the basics of scaffolding, right? What is bundling and minification in MVC? Alright, now we know in web applications we have many CSS and JS files are there, right, for views, right? Now when client will hit your web application, then the required CSS files and JS files are downloaded to the client machine, right? Now this will impact the performance. So because there are too many JS and CSS files, all of them will be downloaded to the client machine. This will make the things slow. So in order to improve the performance, in order to speed up, first we will compress these CSS and JS file and reduce the their size, and for that we have two techniques. First is bundling, which will combine all the CSS and JS files in one unit like this. The definition is bundling lets us combine multiple JavaScript or multiple cascading style sheet files so that they can be downloaded as a single unit rather than making individual HTTP requests for different JS and CSS files. It will improve the performance. Okay. Second technique is to reduce the size and improve performance is minification. That is the second technique. So the whole unit size will be reduced by removing the white spaces from all the files. Okay, so the spaces between the paragraphs, the statements, that all will be removed, and then your file will be much smaller again. So the definition of minification is minification squeezes out white spaces and performs other types of compression to make the downloaded files as small as possible. All right, now you have the idea of the bundling and minification, right? How to implement security in web applications in MVC? This is a very generic question. Here I will give you the brief about some of the security problems in application and like very little idea about how to resolve them, because if I will share in detail then it will be a very long answer. Now let's start from the first point, and the first security problem is error handling, and for that we must set up custom error pages so that when application will break, then user should not see the actual code error page, but he should see the custom error page. Otherwise, if he will see your actual methods and your actual like the break page, then he might know that what are the flaws of the code, right? What are the problems in the code, and then he can try to hack your website. So you must always show the custom error page. That is first thing. Second is cross-site request forgery. Suppose you are logged in your bank account in a browser, and then on the other tab of the same browser, you will get one email in your Gmail account, and then you will click on that email. Okay, email, there is a link in that email, and then you will click on the link inside the email. Now this can be very dangerous, as the suspicious link can get the access of your bank account which is opened in another tab, right? To prevent this, one technique is to implement anti-forgery token that is provided by the .NET framework. Now again, I will not show the details because then it will be very long, okay? But now you know the problem, that is CSRF, and now you know how to solve it, that is anti-forgery token. Next is cross-site scripting, which is we also like XSS attacks. In this, what happens? The hacker can write some malicious code inside your text box or input fields of your application, and then submit it, which will cause the problem. Okay, some code he will write, some script he can write, okay, inside the text box or text area. To prevent this, you must validate the text of your input controls. So whatever user is entering, you must validate that data. Otherwise, some script is going to be there and then again it will crash your application. It can do something which will create problems for you. Next problem is malicious file upload. Here, hacker can upload invalid and malicious files in your applications. Because your applications have that upload controls, right, to upload the files. And if someone will upload some invalid, some program files, some exes, some programs, then it can be dangerous, right? To prevent that, always validate the types of files you wanted to allow to upload. For example, you have to make sure that the file should be of doc, should be of Excel, it should not be of any random type. That is not allowed. Okay. Next type of security problem is SQL injection attacks. Now it is very similar to access. In this, the hacker will write some malicious SQL script in like insert script, delete query, update query inside the text box or input fields of your application. And then again they will submit, and that script will go to your database like some insert delete, and it will delete your database table scan. That is possible, right? That are SQL injection attacks. Now to prevent them, again you have to validate the inputs. Okay, you have to use the parameterized query rather than the direct SQLs. Better to use ORM like entity framework, use stored procedures, and you should avoid dynamic queries. So these are the things which you can do to avoid the SQL injection attacks. Now another thing you can do to make your application secure is save the password in the encrypted form so that even developer can't read it, right? You should not allow password to visible to even developers. Always encrypt and then decrypt it. And the last one is use HTTPS. That is like the standard norm to make your website secure. Now you know some of the very basic ways to secure web applications, and from here you can start. Okay, this is the starting point. This is the points you can share with anyone.